It is 8 o'clock now. I think we'll start the finance team meeting. For everyone who is in attendance today, since we have a lot of people, our plan is that we are waiting for Jared Simpson to be able to join us. So about 8:15, we are going to have the presentation of the appraisal. At this point, we are going to start our regular agenda, which is for this meeting. We are going to be going through the town board agenda for Monday. And as Jared joins us, we will come back and have the presentation of the appraisal. And then for everyone to be aware that this isn't a public hearing. The public hearing will be on Monday at the meeting as announced. All right, so handing it over to Doug to run us through the agenda.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Chairwoman Dorzak. So I'll just jump right down into resolutions here. Obviously, presentation you've already touched on in the public hearings. So I'm just going to jump right down into our resolutions that we have coming up on Monday. So the first one is the standard resolution that we do for the acceptance of the monthly financial reports, and that is attached. And then the second one is the standard resolution that we do for the budget transfers that we've made. I believe there was one budget transfer this month relative to a striker PDR that you have previously authorized, and so I believe that's attached.
And Doug, I was surprised to see that one on the list since it was over 5,000 and we had previously authorized it.
Yeah, it was just more for sharing the information. Okay. You had already authorized it. The town board had already authorized it, just so that it was reported back. There is a separate abstract for that, just so that you all had that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The next resolution here is the encumbrances from 2020. We touched on this at the last meeting. This is the resolution actually encumbering projects that began in 2020, encumbering them over to 2021 for them to finish up. I know Kate was having some issues with her computer this morning. I think she's joining us by phone, but Kate did a great job of really working with all the department heads and going through and cleaning up a lot of the outstanding purchase orders to make sure that those were all taken care of by the end of the year. So this number is down significantly versus what we've seen in past years, down to 34,000. And these are all projects that again began in 2020 and just finishing up here in 21. I apologize. I've got a town board member asking me for the link for this meeting. Let me just.
Oh, is that Terry?
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking we should text him.
Just it. Okay. Any questions on that?
No, it's nice to see it be small, and that we're finding it with the help of the new system. So I'm happy to see the number be so manageable.
Jumping down here to the next resolution, this is endorsing the proposed consolidation agreement for the Cramer Roadwater District into Canandaigua Consolidated. This resolution would actually provide the notices to the owner or to the landowners in the Cramer Road Water District that we formed last year, that we would be setting a public hearing for the March Town Board meeting on consolidation of the Cramer Road Water District into the Canandaigua Consolidated Water District. And as you know, that there was a mutual benefit there. I think there were a total of 5 property owners associated with the Cramer, or 5 users, I should say, associated with the Cramer Road Water District, but it also provided an emergency loop back in the water system. So there was a dual benefit there to get that done at the same time we're running the transmission lines. So.
Yeah, perfect.
This next one, I don't know if I don't see Jim Fletcher.
Oh, he is on. I saw his name.
Did you see his name?
Yeah.
Jim, I don't know if he's.
I was looking for Terry and
at the moment here.
I'm here.
He's there. He's there.
Terry's here. I don't see Jim though. But this one is this resolution. I guess there was, from what I understand, there was a previous owner of a piece of property at 3344 Fallbrook Park that had been charged and paid a water bill, but it sounds like it was an automatic withdrawal, I guess, from.
I didn't realize it for a few months.
Correct, and it should have gone to the new property owner, so this clears that up.
So do we need to say anything about the recovering from the new property owner? I mean, we talk about we're giving the reimbursement, but how are we going to get the money from the new property owner?
Yeah, it's yeah, it says the third whereas the water superintendent is recommending the charges of 6525 be created to or credited to the seller and correctly charged to the current property.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. I must have read it fast.
I thought I saw it somewhere. I just had to reread it.
And I thought it was missing, so good. Perfect.
Okay, any questions, more questions on that one?
No.
Next resolution, secret determination of non-significance adoption of a text code amendment to Town Code Chapter 220 that would allow and amend regulations on swimming pools. So we do have a public hearing on this proposed local law on the town board.
Can everyone please put their self on mute? Somebody's talking in the background.
For the swimming pools. Gary, I don't know if you have anything as the chair of the ordinance committee that you want to add on this at this point.
No, what the committee has tried to do is make it more convenient for the residents if they decide that they would like to have a swimming pool on the lake side of their residence. So now they have to go to the zoning board to get a variance. We're trying to eliminate that variance unless they do not meet the specifications for setbacks and things like that. That's basically what it is, just on the RLD.
So this is essentially a simplification to allow homeowners to do something that we've always allowed, but they had to get a variance to do so.
Correct, correct.
This should really help the residents.
Jumping down to the next one, this is authorization for the applicant to proceed with a site plan review with the planning board for a project on County Road 28. They're proposing to build 4 townhomes, a total of 16 units on a property on County Road 28. This has previously been reviewed by the planning board. They have provided comment that generally they believe it's within keeping of the mixed use overlay. And the uptown, I believe, is what the comments refer to. So this would go ahead and allow them to proceed with that process to the planning board. They would have 180 days to receive preliminary site plan approval from the planning board, and then it would come back to the town board one final time for the official rezoning to mixed use overlay.
Thank you.
The next resolution, actually the next 2 resolutions are the annual reports that we received. The first is from the town clerk. The second is from the town court. I know the town clerk is with us. I don't know if, Jean, if you have anything relative to your report.
You might be muted, Jean.
Microphone doesn't look like it's working, but
she's doing sign language.
Oh.
2 syllables sounds like okay.
Right. So her report is attached to the full annual report. There is attached. She provided that, as well as the court. I did have a chance to have a conversation with Judge Perel, and despite the COVID situation, the revenues that they had anticipated were very much in line with what they had anticipated. They really have quite a backlog that they're working through on the court system because of the COVID situation, but they feel very confident about their ability to really get that up and going as things start to open up. Hopefully, keep our fingers crossed for all of us. Yeah, so.
Great.
Keep that one. I keep muting a number of folks. That's just because of the background noise, and then just so everybody's aware there. The next one would be setting a public hearing on a draft Middle Cheshire Road and Hospital Service Corridor Active Transportation Plan. Seeker intent to declare lead agency. Number of folks were with us yesterday on a presentation by Bergman Associates. This would actually set a public hearing for our town board meeting for the March meeting to hear from the public about the plan. I know that there were quite a few comments and questions that were brought up yesterday. We are in a little bit of a timing window here. This was a grant. This study was funded by a grant that has to close out at the end of March because of the way that works with the state government and the federal government and the Genesee Transportation Council. So I did have a couple of conversations yesterday. I think we can put the resolution on your March meeting, something to the effect of acknowledging the plan because it does cross municipal borders. I need to have a conversation with the city manager about that also. But this would at least hold the public hearing so that everybody has a chance to provide additional input relative to the Middle Cheshire Road plan. So
Great.
And the last resolution here is actually a resolution in support of a grant application by the Cheshire Fire Department to FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, for about $300,000 is what they're applying for equipment for the Cheshire Fire Department. And this is a letter or a resolution of support so that they can put that with their grant application. I did go through their grant application with them this week, and they had hired an entity to help them with actually writing that grant application. Those grant applications of the federal government, they're pretty lengthy, pretty in-depth, and it looks like they've really put a lot of time and effort in putting a solid grant application together. So
Great. Hope they get it.
So, and Linda, I think that's...
Yeah, I think we're at the end of the agenda, and I had told Jared that we probably would start around 8:10, and I noticed that we have Mr. Legret back. So I think at this point, and especially since we're recording it, and Jared could actually look at the recording if he is delayed very much longer. Well, we can start to go through that. And I would ask if everyone can put themselves on mute again, because it's easier to hear when only one person is competing for the microphone. And then we have an open, or we have the public hearing for this on Monday. So the comments from the public will be entertained on Monday at our town board meeting. This is an opportunity to listen and digest it for both the town board and the public. So turning it over to you, Jim.
Thank you. Good morning. My name, for those that don't know who I am, I did take a look at the attendee list today. Recognize several individuals involved in the town of Canandaigua, and also residents and also local professionals. My name is James A. Legret. I'm a native of Canandaigua. I've been an appraiser for the past 37 years. My practice is specializing in lakefront valuation throughout the Finger Lakes region. I do a tremendous amount of work on Canandaigua Lake, and most likely value more properties than anyone in our region. And I've been fortunate to have seen some of the most appealing properties on Canandaigua Lake, from the northern tip to the southernmost tip, both east and west sides. Canandaigua Lake is the chosen spot. It's spectacular. It's gorgeous. It is a beauty, and we're all fortunate to benefit from the amenities that it affords. I was contacted maybe 6 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I forget the specific date, by the town of Canandaigua, Mr. Doug Finch, and talked about possibly being engaged for an appraisal on the Tishner Point Kellogg estate. And I certainly welcomed the opportunity and wanted to get involved and see what I could do to put an appraisal together to estimate a current market value estimate for the property. So an inspection of the property took place on January 10th. I met down at the property and upon entering Tishner Point, you get a different feel. It's just a tremendous parcel. It's the shoreline is natural. The view amenity is panoramic. It has good depth. It has good acreage. It has good utility. It's really an exceptional parcel on Canandaigua Lake. I would certainly have to identify it as its number, if you would, in terms of its ranking, but it's, in my opinion, as a longtime expert on Canandaigua Lake, it's in the top 10 parcels on the lake. And I might even make an argument that it could be put higher than that. It's without question the #1 parcel that's currently available for sale. Granted, a lot of variables come into play with regards to that. One being price, but for those that understand the dynamics of Canandaigua Lake, certainly understand that the lake has an extreme amount of wealth around it, and individuals and could certainly step up and compensate the sellers for the amount that it's currently listed for or soon about, regardless of the price. There are many individuals in our region, and even with the onset of COVID-19 of a year ago, and we're still in the midst of it, the Finger Lakes region is even expanded its appeal and destination factor for people throughout the U.S., people throughout the world, but in particular, many folks from the Northeast, being New York region, Philadelphia region, Washington region. They love the Finger Lakes for many different reasons, but I know you all understand that. So I'll get on to the dynamics of putting an appraisal together. And I chose to put the appraisal together in a land appraisal type format. I felt that the highest and best use of the property is to value it via a land value estimate. So how do we go about doing that? So the general inspection of the property consisted of walking the shoreline, viewing the shoreline, taking a look at aerials, taking a look at the county records, taking a look at the survey maps, inspecting the various improvements in place, from the tennis court to the boathouse to the 2 cottages to the miscellaneous shed, and just getting a gauge and feel for the property. And at that point, you have enough information, and I got enough sense for, what am I appraising? And after that, after the initial inspection, I left the site like I do on a lot of properties in the Finger Lakes, especially the special ones, and with a different feeling, just a wow factor, if you will, that this is unbelievable. This is an exceptional parcel that, and that was my feeling as I left the site, driving down County Road 16. And so for the next couple of weeks, I typically sort of digest the inspection, if you will, and try to get a sense for, what I'm going to do to value it. And from there, I start putting out phone calls to some of the area professionals, and there are 2 or 3 or 4. There's a handful of professionals that are realtors, brokers, and really have extreme knowledge on Canandaigua Lake, and I respect them very much. We've had a long time relationship with. I've had a long time relationship with them, and we can talk talk lakefront, if you will. And they don't always agree with me, and sometimes I don't always agree with them, but we have a mutual respect for each other, and we have the ability to talk the different dynamics of the lake, dating back, 20 plus years. And so I put out several phone calls and started to gather some research and try to identify some sales that I was going to use to support the market value estimate. From there, I talked on several occasions, I talked with the town assessor, Pam Short, We had several different conversations with regards to the subject property and some of the potential sales that I was going to be using in the report. And I also talked with Eric Cooper at the town of Canandaigua in the planning department to get an understanding of the zoning and potential uses of the parcel, and just to get a little more in-depth knowledge of the RLD zoning classification for this parcel. So once I've gathered that information, I started to go back and research my property records. I keep a file, a 3-ring folder that's quite thick at this point, dating back into the 80s of every land sale or tear down or property that I might rely on in the future to value a unique parcel on Canandaigua Lake, or possibly another Finger Lakes in general. I keep a record so that I can rely on it, and it allows me to trip my memory, if you will, from time to time on some of the historical sales data throughout Canandaigua or the Finger Lakes in general. And then from there, I started to weed out a lot of the sales activity. And based on the dynamics of this parcel, there were truly only a few comparables to consider, in my opinion, for the analysis. So the first part of the report is the really the cover page, and as you get into the main body of the report, it's just a general summation of the market value estimate. The next question in terms of the main content of the report is just some general factual data. And the site has 4.08 acres, and based on the survey and the natural configuration of the shoreline, has 398.23 feet of shoreline. It has an extensive or a really dynamic panoramic view at the south shoreline. It certainly has a nice northern view also, which is I think Canandaigua Lake, the view amenity is a key, and it drives value. The southern view though is exceptional, and for those that understand Canandaigua Lake and how it's valued, view amenity is powerful, and this parcel has a really very appealing view amenity. So getting into the sales analysis, I was fortunate to have 2 current lakefront sales that could be considered in the town of Canandaigua, and those were comparable number 1 and comparable number 2. They were 2 parcels that ended up selling in 2020. The Cook family acquired them over the years, and they decided to move on from Canandaigua Lake and sold the properties. And those 2 parcels were reconfigured and sold. And I had been familiar with the parcels because I had appraised them back when Bob Carr owned one of them, Bernie Newmark owned one of them, Dr. Whedon, I believe, owned a parcel, and there was a 4th parcel, I'm forgetting the name, but I actually appraised all 4 parcels on a couple of different occasions for the property owners, and I was involved when the Cooks purchased those properties back 10 plus years, my guess is, without looking at the research or data. So I was very familiar with them when they purchased them, and certainly familiar with the dynamics of Westlake Boulevard. And I sort of had been watching the parcels in general to see what was going to become of the very large available lakefront pieces on the west side of Canandaigua Lake. So comparable number 1, sold for $2.3 million, vacant parcel. After the configuration of the mapping, had 221 feet of frontage. Comparable number 2, the same thing. It had a small boathouse at the shoreline, and it had 191 feet of shoreline, and it had a very nice, that was the southern parcel that sold there. It had a very nice view amenity also. They both did. They're all quality parcels, grade A lakefront on the shoreline of Canandaigua Lake. And I looked at the north end of the lake, you know, Fallbrook, Sandy Beach, you know, that particular area in the northern section of East Lake Road. And there really wasn't anything that stood out with regards to comparison. Although Fallbrook, if you follow Fallbrook Park, you know, there's certainly different dynamics that are going on down there. There was a parcel that just sold for $980,000 with a, you know, contemporary style house on it, 50-foot parcel, which the majority of them are on Fallbrook, and the house was raised. So in essence, that site, if you wanted to abstract the value of the shoreline, it's roughly, you know, say 20,000 a front foot, which is a little bit unusual. And I think the, you know, the current buyers most likely paid a premium for that shoreline because the house did have some inherent value. But nonetheless, that's what you've seen a little bit on Fallbrook Park. There was a parcel that Russ Brandon purchased at the extreme south end of Fallbrook Park. There was a 50-foot parcel that sold, I think, for about $1.1 million. And again, that's in excess of 20,000 a front foot for an assemblage of a parcel through that part of the lake. But nothing stood out that I could use in this analysis. So then we looked down East Lake Road. As you go down East Lake Road in the town of Canandaigua into the town of Gorham, really where it splits, maybe at County Road 11 heading down towards the Christian camp of East Lake Road. There were a few sales that stood out, but nothing I felt were of value to put into the report. There were a couple of sites down by the old Thendera. Andy Prestigiacomo purchased a parcel for about I'd say about $1.5 million at 150 feet. So that was roughly 10,000 foot of front foot. And he built a modern structure on it. But yeah, I thought about that a little bit. But then again, east side, town of Gorham, has different dynamics. I felt that it wasn't relevant. It was a little bit older sale at this point. So then I looked into the town of South Bristol, which South Bristol is has different dynamics for the shoreline, and Seneca Point Road stands out in general. There's a lot of extremely desirable and appealing properties. There's some beautiful shoreline in the Seneca Point Road area, South Bristol area. And there's probably 2 or 3 properties that are in the top 5 on Canandaigua Lake. And I know for sure the old Wegman estate, Bob Wegman and Peg Wegman's estate, in my opinion, that is the nicest parcel on Canandaigua Lake. So from that, there's some really, really nice level lakefront parcels with panoramic, exceptional southern views. Some have both northern and southern views, and they're just, you get a different feel, you get a different sense, and they're quite frankly spectacular. And sale number 3 was the old Kennedy estate on Seneca Point Road. It was acquired by Rob Sands. And although during my conversation and research, I understand the dynamics of this sale, and I understand the nature of the buyer and current owner. But I felt it was a extremely good sale to use because it had 200 plus feet of frontage. It had an exceptional view amenity. It had acreage. And it had the qualities, I think, that are similar to the Tishner Point parcel. So that was my third comp. So the unadjusted range of value was on a front. So I wanted to analyze it on a per front foot basis. In my view, the current structures that are on the subject property, although some of them could be salvaged and restored or modified. Most prospective buyers would feel that they have no contributory value in the market. So I wanted to, I don't want to say keep it simplistic, but I think the majority of value that's derived on Canandaigua Lake is on a per front foot basis. And that factor, I think, is what I typically would argue in a court setting. And I typically would consult with clients on a just general valuation basis. We can relate to frontage values. And so the unadjusted frontage value range was roughly $10,407 a foot to $16,341 a foot. And from there, there's an adjustment process within the appraisal. And sales 1 and 2, I felt warranted a slight site/view adjustment. Westlake Boulevard, although very nice and has many quality attributes, typically is not as desirable as the parcel at Tishner Point or the parcels down along Seneca Point Road. So I look to abstract per front foot adjustment for the view amenity, and a relatively modest 5% of positive adjustment was made for sales 1 and 2. Onto that, sale 2, the combined sale had some excess site area that I estimated a contributory value of that site area, and then related it back to a per front foot basis and made a negative adjustment for the site area. And so in the end, the adjusted range went from $10,907 a front foot to $16,341 a front foot. So as you can see from the unadjusted range of value to the adjusted range of value, there's not much difference in the variance, if you will. And another part of the appraisal that I passed over earlier was the highest and best use of the parcel. In the appraisal practice, we have to estimate the highest and best use of a property. You know, what is it? Okay, currently it's a single parcel, 4.08 acres, 198 feet of frontage with all the features that I explained before. What do we do with it? Well, you put it for sale for $5.9 million. And prior to that, I think, I don't know this for a fact, but in conversation with several people, it sounded to me, and I think I could state this, it's on record, that the property was sort of available, or the word of mouth, if you will, that, you know, if the right price came along, the sellers were looking to move forward and sell the property. So I think it had some exposure while not formally on the market. It had some exposure for possibly a couple of years. And so in my view, you know, the highest and best use is a single parcel, although I still believe that, you know, based on maybe an extended marketing period of the parcel, that a single buyer would take this out for, you know, around whatever, just say 5 million, 6 million. It's all, you know, it's all relevant to some degree. But in the range of value, someone would take it out as a single parcel, but it would potentially take a little bit to attract that single buyer, similar to many of the unique properties throughout the Finger Lakes region. It takes that right buyer. It's real estate in general. But although in my view, the highest and best use was not as a single parcel, because the dynamics of someone laying out $5+ million is, it thins the market a little bit. And not only that, that's just for the purchase of the land. On top of that, they got to put in maybe another, you know, say another 5 million for improvements. So you're up to 10+ million. And even though there's extreme wealth that's on this lake, the wealthy even take note of that in relationship to a potential tax bill every year. So then to break that highest and best use analysis down even further, I decided after speaking with Eric Cooper, speaking with Pam Short in the assessment offices, speaking with several of the top brokers on Canandaigua Lake, including a couple that are in attendance today. It was my opinion that the highest and best use of this parcel would be to split it into two parcels. And so I created a southern piece at 200 feet of frontage and 2.0 acres, and a northern piece at 198 feet of frontage and 2 acres, roughly equal parcels, say 200 feet of shoreline. And that's sort of what, the comparables we're suggesting. We do have a recent sale and activity of a like, if you will, of comps 1 and 2 that did just happen. And, in addition to those two parcels, I mean, I tried to look back in history of, okay, is a prospective buyer able and willing to lay out $2+ million for a vacant parcel? We have proof of it, comp 1 and 2, comp 3. We also have, there was a sale over on Lincolnwood that sold, that pretty much the house was raised and rebuilt. That was, the one parcel was 2.9, I believe. I know the representing realtors in attendance, but that was a parcel. There was a parcel down on Applewood that was rebuilt at, this is back, I think in 2008, that sold for $2,001,000 in 2008. House was rebuilt, $13,907 a front foot at the time. House was rebuilt, sold again. Again, there's some loss in the resale basis of the house, but the frontage value, my point is, there are many prospective buyers. It's been proven several times on Canandaigua Lake willing to spend $2+ million on a vacant lakefront parcel, or a parcel that they'd have to raise the existing structures. So in my reconciliation of highest and best use, I felt the maximally productive value was to split the parcel into 200 feet and 198 feet and value it accordingly. And quite frankly, from there, I naturally, the range of value, I don't want to say it's, I was fortunate to have the data, because if in the appraisal business, if you don't have the data, you can't manufacture it, and you have to be able to justify your position on things when questioned. So naturally, the range of value, I sort of in the middle of it, reconciled value. I think there'd be an argument made that the Seneca Point Road parcel potentially could be superior, and so that sets the upper limit of value. And as I mentioned earlier, in my opinion, and I think others would agree, that the Westlake Boulevard parcels are a little bit inferior to the Tishner Point property. So naturally, I'm sort of in the middle, not exactly, but the midpoint of the range. And I reconciled my price per front foot at $13,500 a front foot. Wow, that seems like a lot of money, but it's supported by the data. And historically, I would argue over time and time, and we talk about the premium points on Canandaigua Lake. Wow, it's 10,000 a front foot. It's the highest frontage in the country, in the world. You all heard different types of things since this side of Tahoe, and all of that. But in reality, it is desirable, but it is a market to itself. You start analyzing frontage values on Skinny Atlas Lake, which I do, and you're going to see that range go up from what you see on Canandaigua Lake. You start to look in Lake George, you start to look in Lake Placid, and it's a whole different dynamic and dynamics of the real estate market. And then if you want to look at Long Island values, you want to look at the oceanfront values down in New Jersey or Maryland. Again, every market is different, but we have data to support those numbers. Although they seem high, they seem a lot. It's, wow, who's going to pay $13,000 or $15,000 for a front foot of shoreline? But that is our market. And based on the dynamics of these parcels that we're talking about, that's where it's at. So in reality, it's a relatively simple calculation to come up with the overall value of the two parcels. And then once that was done, I basically just applied a relatively nominal cost, a $50,000 cost for the subdivision estimate, if you will, that would require to take that parcel from a single parcel to a two-site parcel. Some engineering costs, some survey costs, just a cost associated with working through the approval process. So in reconciled value was $5,325,000, and I feel comfortable. I wouldn't have put it on there for those that know me and know my how I value properties. I would not have appraised it at $5,325,000 if I didn't feel it was worth that. It's I think I've got support for it. I've got sound analysis for it. And it is an opinion of value. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. But as an appraiser, you have to support your opinion based on the data that you present. And I'm comfortable, very comfortable with it. And I feel that this parcel is it's just such a beautiful piece that the value is in line with its amenities and its appeal. And so I'm comfortable. I feel confident that it's is my research, my analysis, and my reconciliation. And I think that it's what I'm willing to support, willing to argue, and willing to defend and support my reasoning and analysis off of. And on a side note, as a Canandaigua native, an individual that spent the past 25 plus years on Canandaigua Lake vacationing during the summer months and riding around it all summer long. And as a professional, when I'm giving my own lakefront tour, it allows me time to reflect back on the sales activity, the pricing, and a lot of people, guests, are just astounded by the nature of the pricing on Canandaigua Lake, the magnitude of the housing that's going on. But in my opinion, as an old-time young Canandaigua guy, it's really spectacular and beautiful. There's wonderful owners. There's wonderful amenities that are afforded by all. A similar park, if in fact this becomes a town park, is Ononda. I spent many days at Ononda vacationing with my brother-in-law. I used to get a camp there every year, and it's just a really beautiful park, a town park. And I really give the town of Canandaigua leaders just a lot of positive vibes that they're even considering this, to think that it could be acquired by a town and forever be a town park. To me, I think that's wonderful. It's certainly that last comment was something that is outside of my scope and role as an appraiser, but just as a side note, that I really think it's a wonderful endeavor that the town is going through to see if it can be acquired for the future benefit of Canandaigua residents forever. So that's sort of my analysis, quick comments, and I'll leave it at that for now.
Well, thank you, Jim. One question that has already come up, because I know our town residents will probably be sending us additional questions. But I just want to give you this, and if you need to think about it to answer it at the town meeting, that is okay too. There's some kind of shoreline discussion around like a flat shoreline or a point, and the point obviously gives you a lot more frontage, but is it the appropriate way to value? So do you think you could comment on that, or would you like to comment on it at the town board meeting?
No, I mean, I could comment it on general. I know it became a point of question with regards to a couple of the individuals I spoke with. Had talked with regards to valuing this parcel. But I think in general, we're really talking about the southernmost point of the shoreline. And looking at the survey, there's 66 feet of shore, and then there's a point of 22 feet. But even if you extracted out the 66 feet of frontage at the shoreline, I think that's probably the question. In my opinion, after being at the site, and I was aware of that point or comment before I went to this parcel. And when I arrived at the site, that was the first thing that I had relayed on to the representing broker that I wanted to, the first thing I wanted to do was understand the shoreline question. And how did you come up with 398 feet? So after reviewing the survey and after looking at the shoreline, in my opinion, and based on how the shoreline is typically being valued or accounted these days by surveyors and towns, in most cases, I felt that 66 feet on the southern portion of this parcel has extreme value because you really pick up the an exceptional natural barrier there. You have a natural beach shoreline, and it really drives you can see by that picture, the original picture that was on the cover sheet, the southern view is breathtaking. And so, yeah, from really around that tree section there, that's really the 66 feet we're talking about. The 24 feet is on the extreme point here. So in my opinion, as an appraiser, that portion of the parcel is very usable and really drives a big component of this shoreline and should be counted. And so I did count it. But I know that there are others that feel that, typically you would do a tie line, the old way of doing it, you do a tie line maybe, across the shoreline, that'd be the tie line frontage. But they've, for the most part, gotten away from that. I don't say always, and I know there's a couple in attendance today that might argue something different. But in my opinion, as the appraiser, I analyzed that and felt that the overall shoreline total should be included at 398 feet based on the dynamics of the parcel.
Well, thank you for commenting on that. That was just a question that I know had been raised by our residents, and because we are going to be having the public hearing opening up for their comments at the other meeting, we wanted to make sure that they had an answer for something that they've already asked us. Are there, from the town board members, is there anything specific that you would want to say to Jim today prior to our next meeting? He's going to give kind of a similar presentation at our town board meeting on Monday.
No, I'm good, Linda, thanks.
Okay.
No, I'm good too, Linda. I think it was a great presentation, and thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
And Gary, I think I didn't hear from you. Are you okay?
No, I don't have anything to say. It was a great presentation, and thank you, Jim, also.
You're welcome.
Okay, and I'm not sure if Jared has been able to join us. Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I jumped in. I just want to thank you for your efforts and the work and presenting that to us. And I don't have anything further either.
Okay, so I think with that, then we will.
Linda, if I could real quick. So Jim, and certainly don't ask you to go through the same type of analysis that you just did on the appraisal that you provided for the town of Canandaigua, but we do have the second appraisal that was conducted by Kevin Bruckner. I can just share that. I don't know if you'd be able to just kind of comment. I think he probably did a similar process, but the other appraisal has also now come in. I received that this morning.
Oh, thank you, Doug. That's good. So would it be fair to say that we'll be posting these or putting them somewhere where the residents can take a peek at it? Because I know there's a lot of interest.
There is a lot of interest. We need to have some additional conversations. At the absolute minimal, there would need to be a FOIA process followed, but we'll need to have some additional conversations on on how we publish this work that was done by these two certified appraisers also.
Okay, and of course, this is recorded, so we are going to be posting the recording of this meeting on the town's YouTube channel, so people can look at that. Doug, would we want to scroll up a little bit just so that so it looks like it came in at 5.7, which is a little higher than Jim's, but it's understandable that there'd be a range. And they looks like they looked at some things on Skinny Atlas as well, instead of just all Canandaigua. So that was it. That's probably another factor in how there's a variation. So,
And
yes.
I know, Jim, you haven't had a chance to look at this ahead of time or anything. I don't know if you.
I can take a look at it if you want me to just comment in general. I mean, I certainly don't. I was partners with Kevin for 10 plus years. He's a friend. He's a longtime colleague, and we were partners in the business. The sales 3, 4, and 5 are the same 3 sales that I used in my analysis. That he chose to use 2 sales in Skinny Atlas, and again, I would rely back. That's certainly relevant to his analysis. My comment on that was stated earlier that I feel that Skinny Atlas is a market to itself, and I chose not to use it. But that was his opinion. His opinion and analysis is different from mine, but we do have 3 like comparables. So, and again, his range of value is roughly 11.3 to 15.5. So overall, our ranges are somewhat similar, but we'd have to take a closer look at it, see if his abstraction and adjustment process. But in general, it doesn't look from his adjusted range of value quickly here. It doesn't look like he swung much either in terms of the adjustment process, which I would agree with.
So,
And overall, he used the same, just as a general comment, the same 398 feet of shoreline for the subject parcel.
so he came to the conclusion that you mentioned, that it is appropriate to include because of the view.
Again, I certainly understand the dynamics and argument for against that, but you have to make a decision and again, support it with analysis or at least your opinion. And we're all entitled to our opinion and through professional judgment also.
Yep. All right.
So Linda, if I just could, just because I know that the question has come up before. So with this, we have the Bruckner appraisal at $5,700,000, the Legret appraisal at $5,325,000. The average of the two is $5,512,500.
Thank you, Doug. All right. So our process going forward, Doug, is that we are having a public hearing. And then likely we, as a town board, we can have some sort of public discussion at our town board meeting and talk about what are the next steps?
Right. So the town board meeting Monday night is at 6 o'clock. It'll again be by Zoom. We've published the agenda with the links for the meeting. We have a couple of public hearings that night, and that information relative to the Zoom links and the full agenda is actually on the town website.
Okay. Any town board members have anything else that they need to say? Jean or Jim Fletcher, either? Then we will conclude this meeting of the finance team, and we will see everybody on Monday.
Okay,
Bye.
There you go.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Bye now.
goodbye.